Hi there. This is Keith Mackenzie reporting on March the 22nd, 2021. And we're kind of in an interesting space in the world in regards to COVID and all of its many varieties. Keep that word in mind, and I'll go into depth on that in a few minutes. So right now, we are starting to see the differences between each country in regards to getting control over the COVID-19 pandemic. And that kind of control is measured in terms of vaccinations. Once you get a vaccination, which is actually 2 shots, one now and one in 2 weeks, or one now and one in 4 weeks. In fact, I'm starting to see and hear a lot of people getting it. In the United States, it's something like 12 or 15% of the population fully vaccinated, which is not bad. Good track record so far. And in fact, for the United States, they're doing better than most countries in the world. One of the countries that's fully vaccinated 100%, everybody is everybody in the country being vaccinated is actually Israel. New Zealand has had a really good response. I'm not sure how well they're doing in terms of actual vaccinations. And but anyway, some countries that are not really doing that well in terms of vaccinations are Canada, actually. But that's a logistical problem. It's not a administrative problem. The drive is there. The people want it. The government that is led by Trudeau and the Liberal Party, they want it. But they are not getting the vaccinations into the country. And this kind of dates back to the Mulroney years. Well, Mulroney did some things in the 80s that kind of shut down the only manufacturing centers for vaccinations in general in Canada. So Canada doesn't actually have any manufacturing centers. So they need to buy the vaccinations from other people, from other countries. And when you do that, you are dependent on the availability of these vaccinations from other people. And of course, these other countries, they want to take care of their own people first. It's fair, absolutely fair. Now, what's happened in the United States is they've gotten so many vaccinations so well ahead of time too, that they actually have a bit of a surplus. You know what they've done with that surplus? They've given some of it to Canada. AstraZeneca, which is the one that's from Oxford. And as it happens, my mom and dad are getting the vaccination in a couple of weeks. And I'm very, very happy to hear that, considering they're like 78 years old and quite vulnerable, I think. Anyway, so that's a good thing. Canada started to catch up. The US is kind of leading the way. That's all good and well. But then the plot thickens. Variants. Where is that variants? These are offshoots of COVID-19. These are mutations of the virus. This is sort of like the sequel, where the bad guys from the first movie come back even stronger in the second movie, like Star Wars and The Empire Strikes Back. Star Wars, they vanquished the Empire, but then the Empire struck back in the second movie. Darth Vader, the Emperor, and all of them came crashing back, destroyed the rebel base at the beginning of the movie. And at the end of the movie, the rebel alliance were basically shut down. So they had to retreat. Now this is what the variant saw. There are two big ones, maybe three, I'm not sure. The first one is from South Africa. It's called N117. It's a pretty bad one, starting to spread in other areas. There are records of COVID, the South African variant, kind of started to spread in other areas, not yet. The other one that everybody's really nervous about is coming from Brazil. P1 is called the P1, and I think the P1 virus is going to be the one that everyone is talking about going forward. Leave it to me to make a video in the middle of the work day. But there you have it. Sunny day. It's a nice day to walk back to the apartment, but it also means it's noisy. Anyway, P1 has absolutely ravaged Brazil. Brazil is getting about 1/4 of the deaths every year, every day in the world. They're getting about 2,000 deaths a day. They're just going right up through the ceiling and beyond. It's not a good thing. And a big reason for this is because of their leader, Bolsonaro, Jair Bolsonaro. He is kind of like a Trump 2.0, or more like a Trump version 10. He makes Trump look like a left-wing hack. He really does. He's completely denied the virus. He refuses to take vaccinations. He shoots down the idea that the vaccination can make any kind of impact whatsoever. He's told people to stop running. He's called a little flu. He said if you take the vaccination, you're going to turn into an alligator. Kind of complete whack job statements like that. Anyway, so under his leadership, the virus has spiraled out of control in Brazil. Now here's where it gets interesting. Fauci, who is the leader of the health charge in the United States, I keep saying this stuff, I don't know what his actual title is. He said that the reason it's so important to get vaccinations out there as much as possible is because we do not want to see COVID spread so much. That's kind of obvious. But the other risk is if COVID spreads and sort of incubates in a way, kind of find some long-lasting life in a society, it will grow and it will mutate. And that's what we want, but we don't want to happen. We want to stop it in its tracks before it has an opportunity to mutate. And he said, I don't know if he said, but people are saying that that's what's going on in Brazil. Because Brazil only has vaccinated about 1% of the population, and they're now really taking the precaution to contain the spread of COVID. COVID has had a very fertile, I hope you can hear me here, a very fertile territory in which they can thrive and flourish and mutate into new variants. And the result is P1. P1 is something like 2-3 times as contagious as the original COVID-19. P1 is also, I can't remember exactly how many times more deadly, but apparently it's much more deadly. and they're not 100% sure if the vaccine can stop this mutation. But the vaccine can help lessen the symptoms, so it does do something. Anyway, 1/4 of the new COVID cases in Brazil are P1. P1 has started to spread to the United States. They're getting some of it in Canada too. They've had about 2 or 3 cases of it in Massachusetts already. So obviously people are getting a little bit nervous. Again, seen it all before. 1 year ago, this month, we just had this blip. 1 case here, blip. 2 cases there, blip. 3 other cases over there. Next thing you know, it spread like wildfire. I am really, really, really hoping P1 is not another COVID pandemic. I really hope it doesn't become a separate new pandemic of its own, because I think I speak for just about everybody here. I don't know if we can handle another year of this lockdown, widespread deaths, infections, illnesses, complete disruption. Could we handle it for another year? See, I read an article this morning in the New York Times. Maybe not the New York Times, the Globe and Mail. It was behind a paywall, but I got the idea that white-collar workers like myself, people who work at a desk in front of a computer and everything, they are dealing with extreme situations of burnout and depression, because all they're doing is working from home. They have kids. They're not really going anywhere. They're not really separating work from home very much at all. And it's kind of a slow burn, if that makes sense, a slow burnout. So you don't get hit as hard as those who are on the front lines with the more visceral experience, seeing people coming into the hospitals or dealing with sick people or suddenly losing their jobs. That's not these people. They are hit a little harder. They maybe rebound a little faster, maybe, I don't know. Whereas white-collar workers who are able to work from home, like myself, we've retained our jobs, but there is a slow burnout. And I think it's slow enough that we don't really see it happening to us. It's like the frog in the stove. You turn on the stove super slowly, let it slowly heat up. The frog's not going to jump because they don't really sense the sudden change in the heat. And what happens to the frog? Of course, it gets hurt because it doesn't hop out of the stove. It doesn't hop out of the pan. You know the story. Anyway, that's what's happening. And we will see what happens in the next month or so with this P1 variant. I am just hoping we are coming out at the other end. In some ways it feels like it, but when I see P1 happening, it feels like, oh no, not again. Here we go again. But time will tell. Signing out.